I saw her body a second before I slammed the brakes. The road curved hard to the left, hidden behind thick morning fog and towering pines. It was early spring. Everything was wet from last night's rain. I was running late for work, half distracted by a voicemail from my boss when it happened. One moment, the road was empty. The next, it wasn't. She darted out from the trees. A flash of brown fur. I yanked the wheel and hit the brakes, but the car skidded. Tires screamed. The impact was sickening. Her body rolled across the asphalt and thudded into the guardrail. Then silence. Deafening, awful silence. I sat there, frozen, hands glued to the wheel, heart slamming into my ribs. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I opened the door with trembling fingers and stepped into the cold, misty air. My boots crunched against the gravel. The smell of pine and wet earth mixed with something else, coppery and sharp. She was lying still, belly rising once, then not again. Her eyes were half open, staring through me. I don't know why, but I whispered, "I'm so sorry. I've seen dead animals before. Deer, raccoons, once a fox. But this felt different. She was huge, majestic, and something about her face. It didn't look angry, just empty." That's when I heard it. A faint rustle, coming from the trees across the road. I turned my head slowly, afraid of what I might see. Another bear? My body tensed. But then, from behind the bushes, a small black nose poked out, then wide, terrified eyes, wet, glistening, and then tiny paws, shaking. It was a cub, no taller than my knee, brown with darker paws and a light smudge above its left eye. It didn't cry. It just stood there, trembling. My throat dried instantly. We stared at each other. I didn't move. Neither did it. Then it inched forward just one step and stopped. Its eyes flicked between me and its mother, back and forth. I looked around. No other cars. No cell service. The road was dead quiet. Just me, a wrecked morning, a dead bear. And now this. What the hell was I supposed to do? I took a step toward the bushes. The cub flinched and disappeared into the undergrowth. I froze, trying to listen. More rustling farther away now. "No, no, no," I muttered. The last thing I wanted was for it to run off into the woods. Alone, hungry, confused. I don't know much about bears, but I know that cubs without their mother don't last long. I went back to my car and turned off the engine. Grabbed the flashlight I keep in the glove box. Walked back across the road. The brush was thick and wet. It slapped at my jeans, soaked into my boots. I moved slowly, sweeping the light across the forest floor. And then there, behind a fallen log, curled into a ball, nose tucked under its leg. It was trying to disappear. "Hey!" I said softly, kneeling down. My voice cracked. "I won't hurt you." The cub didn't move. I didn't know what I was doing. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding in my ears. But I kept talking. Words didn't matter, just the tone. "You're okay. You're okay now. I got you." Still nothing. I reached for my phone again. Still no signal. So I sat there, on the cold, damp ground, with a dead bear behind me and her cub hiding in front of me. I thought about leaving, getting back in my car, pretending this never happened. But I couldn't. I looked at the cub again, and something shifted inside me. That wasn't just some wild animal. That was a child. And it was terrified. I stood and backed away slowly. Maybe it would follow. Maybe not. Didn't. I got back into my car, sat for a while, tried to think, tried not to cry. Then I wrote a note on the back of an old receipt. "Dead bear, cub nearby. Please call wildlife rescue. Mile marker 12. I left it under a rock on the shoulder, where other drivers might see it. And then I drove away. But a mile later, I pulled over again. I turned off the ignition, stared at the wheel, and whispered out loud, "I can't leave him." I turned the car around. I parked on the shoulder, just past the same curve, and stared out at the mist rolling over the pines. It was still early. The light was gray, cold. I kept the engine running and pulled out my phone again. No service. I drove another mile, then another. Still nothing. Finally, after what felt like forever, a single bar lit up. I pulled over and started dialing. First, the local animal control, straight to voicemail. Then the ranger station. A recorded message said they were closed until 9. I tried the emergency wildlife rescue hotline I'd found on a sticker at a gas station once. A guy answered. "Sleepy. Sorry," he said. "We don't take cubs. Dangerous liability." Mother might be nearby. I told him the mother was dead. He paused. Still, state guidelines. You leave it alone or call the department. Don't try to touch it. You can get in real trouble. He hung up before I could argue. I stared at the screen. My hand was clenched so hard around the phone it hurt. I called the sheriff's office. Explained what happened. They told me they'd send someone to check on it, maybe, but that I should stay clear. Wildlife are unpredictable, even babies. You did your part, the woman said. Best to move on. I didn't answer, just hung up. I sat there, car idling, hands shaking, and then I turned around again, back to mile marker 12. When I got there, the cub was still hiding behind the log, curled tighter now, shivering. I crouched by the bushes and talked to him again. Same soft voice, same steady tone, nothing. I walked back to the car, popped the trunk, and rummaged through the mess. Found an old energy bar, opened it, tore off a piece and went back. I placed the piece on a flat stone near the log, stepped away. The cub lifted his head, sniffed, didn't move. I walked farther back. After a few minutes, he slowly, cautiously, crept out, took the piece, then vanished again. It was something. I waited, gave him another. Same result. Third time, I moved the piece a little farther from the log, closer to me, sat with my knees up, hands open. He came out slower this time, paused, looked at me. He was so small and dirty. His fur was matted with pine needles, sticky sap, and something dark near his shoulder, dried blood, maybe. He took the piece, didn't bolt. I didn't reach for him, didn't move, just let the silence stretch between us. After a while he sat, right there, just a few feet away, watching me. I whispered, "Hey, buddy." His ears twitched. I don't know how long we stayed like that. Eventually, he yawned, curled up again, but didn't go back behind the log. I checked the time. Almost 9. I called the ranger station again. This time someone picked up. I told them everything. They sighed. "Look, it's tricky," the man said. "We don't have the setup for cub rehab right now. Closest place is over 2 hours away, and they're full. If it's still alive tomorrow, maybe someone can come get it. Tomorrow, you could leave him some food and let nature take its course. Let nature take its course." I looked at the cub. His eyes were closed. He looked exhausted. I ended the call. For a moment, I stood there, completely still. Then I turned and walked back to the car, opened the door, paused, then walked back. I took off my jacket, laid it on the ground, got down on one knee. He opened his eyes again, watched me. "I don't know what I'm doing," I muttered, "but I can't just leave you here." He didn't move when I reached out. I touched his fur, soft, but grimy. My hand shook, but he didn't flinch. I slid one hand under his belly, lifted gently. He let out a tiny squeak. I froze. Then he went limp in my arms. I carried him to the car like something sacred, set him gently on the passenger seat. He sat there, dazed. I grabbed a towel from the trunk and tucked it around him, rolled the window halfway, started the engine, and drove. No idea where I was going. I just drove. At one point he made a sound, kind of like a hiccup. I glanced over. He was staring at me. I said, "I know, bud. I'm scared too." We ended up in my driveway. I parked in the garage, closed the door, sat there a long time. I couldn't take him inside. That felt wrong, dangerous, and I wasn't ready. So I folded down the back seats, laid out the towel, cracked a window, and sat with him. He curled up in the corner and didn't move again. It got dark. I didn't eat, didn't sleep, just sat there watching him breathe. A wild animal. In my car, asleep, and me wondering what the hell I'd just done. But knowing, somehow, that I wouldn't change it. I barely slept that night. Every little movement from the back seat snapped my eyes open. At some point, I must have dozed off, because I woke up to faint scratching sounds and a low grunt. He was trying to get out. The towel was half pushed off him. His eyes were wide, breathing fast. I spoke softly, reached my hand over. He nipped. A quick, sharp bite to warn me off. Fair enough. He was still a wild animal, and I was still a stranger who'd stolen him from the only world he knew. I backed off and gave him space. The garage was dim, lit only by a sliver of morning light sneaking under the door. I cracked the window more, then opened the back of the car. He didn't bolt, just stared. I placed a bowl of water near the towel, left a few torn-up pieces of granola bar beside it, then sat in the corner on a folding chair and waited. He didn't eat. He didn't drink. Just stared. At some point, I checked the time. Already past 8. I was late for work. I rushed inside, changed clothes, and sent a text to my boss. Family emergency. Can't make it. Back soon. A lie, but I couldn't exactly say, hey, I hit a bear and kidnapped her kid. I grabbed my laptop, answered a few emails, then went back to the garage. He'd moved. The water was untouched, but the food was gone. He was tucked in the corner near my toolbox, watching me like I might explode. I sat again. Didn't speak this time. Just breathed. Let him see I wasn't a threat. He didn't blink. Just kept watching. It reminded me of Lily. That look. She'd hide under the stairs when there were loud noises. Storms, fireworks, yelling on the TV. Curled into herself like she could vanish. Lily was my daughter. She was 6 when we lost her. An accident. A stupid, senseless accident. Her name still hurts to say. I never talk about her. Haven't in years. Most people don't know. I stopped bringing it up. But sitting there, in a cold garage, with this frightened little soul staring at me, it cracked something open. I whispered, "She used to look at me like that." He shifted slightly. Not away. Not toward. Just shifted. Felt like something. I stayed in that garage for what felt like hours. The cold began to settle into my legs. I didn't care. I just kept watching him, trying to understand what the right thing was. I wasn't sure anymore. By noon, he still hadn't moved much. I needed to get him out of the car. Let him stretch. Figure something out. I cleared out a corner of the garage. Stacked boxes against one wall. Moved the lawnmower. Laid down old blankets and an old sleeping bag. Made a little nest. Then, slowly, I opened the car door. He growled. It was small, unsteady, but real. I backed off. "Okay," I said. "Your pace. Your space." Took almost an hour. He stepped out, paused tentative on the concrete. Head low. Sniffed everything. He didn't like the oil smell. Stayed close to the car. But then he found the sleeping bag. Sniffed it. Pawed at it. Then curled into it. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. He had a spot now. I closed the garage door, left him in peace, and went inside. That evening, I called a friend of mine, Jake. Used to be a vet tech before he moved into landscaping. "You still know anything about wildlife care?" I asked. "Why? You hit a deer or something?" "Something like that." "You didn't bring it home, did you?" "It's complicated." Pause. "Jesus, man. What did you do?" I told him just enough. That it was a cub. That the mother was gone. That nobody would help. Jake cursed. "You know they'll find the hell out of you if they find out, right?" "I know. And it could hurt you. Rabies, parasites, God knows what." "I know. But you're doing it anyway." "Yeah." He sighed. "All right, I'll swing by tomorrow. Bring some supplies. Don't touch him too much. Don't feed him junk. And get some gloves, for God's sake." "Thanks." Later that night, I sat again in the garage. The silence was thick. I found myself talking, quietly, to no one in particular. Maybe to him, maybe to Lily, maybe to myself. "I don't know what you want from me, little guy, but you're here now, and I don't walk away from things anymore." He twitched in his sleep. The next morning, I called work and said I needed a few more days. Another lie. I bought puppy pads, baby formula, a bottle. Looked up guides for orphaned cubs. Most said the same thing: "Don't do this. Call professionals." Too late. I dug out a small fan heater and set it up across the garage. It hummed softly, warming the air. I sat there, drinking cold coffee, thinking about the decisions that led me here. That afternoon, he let me get closer. He sniffed my shoe, bit the laces, growled when I reached for the bowl, but not as fierce. Progress. He didn't have a name yet. I wasn't ready for that. But every time I looked at him, something tugged inside me. He wasn't just an animal. He was a story I couldn't walk away from. And maybe he was mine to finish. It started with a cough. A rough, dry sound that made my gut twist. At first, I thought maybe it was nothing. Dust, cold air. But by the second day, the cub was moving slower. He wouldn't touch the food. He barely lifted his head when I walked in. He was getting worse. Jake showed up that afternoon. Knocked twice on the side door, then let himself into the garage. "Holy hell," he muttered, crouching beside the sleeping bag. "You weren't kidding. He's young. Too young." The cub didn't growl this time. Didn't even react. Jake checked his gums, his nose, felt his belly. He's dehydrated, probably feverish. Might be some kind of infection. Could be from the trauma. Could be anything. I stood there, useless. My hands were fists. What do we do? Jake looked at me. You need to get him to someone who knows what they're doing. I've got some fluids in my truck. But that's just buying time. He needs antibiotics, a real setup. Where? Nobody wants to take him. Jake rubbed his forehead. There's a guy 2 towns over, east side of the range. Retired wildlife vet. Lives off-grid mostly. Might help. No questions asked. How far? Hour and a half. Maybe 2 with the roads. I looked at the cub. His breathing was shallow now. Each rise and fall of his side seemed like a struggle. I'll take him. Jake gave me a cooler bag with supplies, a printed set of directions, and one last warning. Don't stop. Don't get pulled over. You're already too deep. I nodded. It was early evening by the time we pulled out. I'd packed the cub in a crate lined with blankets and towels, buckled into the back seat. The crate itself was half covered with a tarp. Every bump in the road made me flinch. The roads east were steeper, narrower. As we climbed, fog started to settle again. Just like the day I found his mom. I gripped the wheel tighter. Halfway through the pass, my phone buzzed. Signal returned for just a second. One missed call. Unknown number. Then another buzz, this time a text. From my neighbor, Sue. Everything okay? Saw something moving in your garage last night. Need help with anything? My heart pounded. I shoved the phone face down on the seat. Then flashing lights in the mirror. Blue and red. A sheriff's SUV. No, 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 I muttered. My foot eased off the gas. I pulled over. The gravel crackled under the tires. The lights stayed on. Then a door opened. A tall man in uniform approached, flashlight in hand. I rolled down the window, tried to smile, failed. Evening, he said. Little late to be out on these roads, huh? Yeah, just driving to a friend's. Helping with something. He shined the light into the front seat. Then the back. You carrying something? Old camping gear, blankets, tools. Mind popping the trunk? Sure, I said too quickly. My fingers fumbled with the button. As he walked around to the back, I heard the cub let out a small, muffled whimper. Not loud, but enough. The deputy froze, turned. What was that? What? That sound. You got an animal in there? No, probably the toolbox shifting. I hit a pothole earlier. He narrowed his eyes. Pop the back door, please. I hesitated. Just a second too long. He walked over and opened it himself. Saw the crate. Paused. Sir, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle. My heart was slamming in my chest. Look, I said, stepping out, hands raised. It's not what you think. You transporting wildlife without a permit? He's dying. Sir, I found him. His mother's dead. Nobody would help. I tried everyone. I didn't know what else to do. The deputy looked from me to the crate. You know how illegal this is? Possession of wildlife, unlicensed transport, obstruction. I don't care. Just let me get him to the vet. That's all. Then do whatever you want. The deputy stared at me for a long time. Then he walked around to the passenger side. Looked in. Shined the flashlight again. The cub didn't move. He's really sick, huh? Yes. He exhaled. There's a ranger station 3 miles back. If I call this in, they'll confiscate him. Standard protocol. And you'll get a fine you'll never forget. He paused. Or, I didn't see anything. I looked at him, eyes wide. You serious? You get him out of this county. Tonight. You never brought him here. Understood. I nodded. And don't come back through. Not until he's gone. Understood. He stepped back, flicked off the lights, got in his SUV and drove away. I stood there for a moment, stunned, then jumped back in, started the car, and floored it. The vet's cabin was hard to find. No signs, just a dirt road off a curve with 3 rusted mailboxes. But the man was there, old, grizzled, quiet. He didn't ask questions, just took the crate, opened it slowly, and whistled. You're lucky he's still breathing. I didn't speak, just stood by the door, clutching my arms. I'll do what I can, the man said. No promises. That night, I slept in my truck outside his cabin, cold, hungry, shaken, but still there, still trying, still hoping. The vet's name was Frank. He didn't say much, just worked with steady, quiet hands. For 3 days, I stayed near his cabin, slept in the truck, ate from gas station bags, walked in circles on the gravel road outside his place, waiting. Every morning he'd come out and nod. That was all I got. On the fourth day, he invited me in. The cub was awake, still weak, but brighter. Sitting up, wrapped in a pile of old rags near the fireplace. There was color in his eyes again. He looked at me, just looked. No growl, no fear. Maybe he remembered. "He's going to make it," Frank said. "But he can't stay with you. Not anymore." I nodded. I knew that part. I'd known it from the start. But hearing it out loud hit harder than I expected. "I called a center down south," he continued. "Real place. Good people. They rehab cubs like him. Get them ready to go back into the wild. He won't be petting zoos or cages. He'll get his life. His life." I didn't say anything. Just sat on the edge of the wooden bench near the door, staring at the little bear. He was chewing on a stick. Calm. Alive. "They'll be here in the morning. You can say goodbye then." Frank left the room. I stayed. Hours passed. I didn't move. When the fire burned low, I finally stood and walked over. He looked up, blinked, then did something that broke me. He waddled closer and leaned his head into my shin. Not hard, just enough to feel it. I crouched slowly, reached out. He didn't pull away. I rested my hand on his back, felt the warmth of his breathing, the softness of fur growing back over the scraped skin. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I didn't know if I was apologizing for taking him, for keeping him, for giving him away, maybe all of it. The next morning, the van arrived. 2 people got out, smiling, friendly, professionals. They asked questions, took notes, thanked me. I barely heard them. When they brought out the crate, I froze. The cub didn't want to go. He clawed at the edges, whimpered, fought. Not violently, just confused. Hurt. One of the handlers looked at me. "You want to try?" I nodded, walked over, crouched beside him. "Hey," I said gently. "It's okay. They're good people. You're gonna be okay." He sniffed my hand, nuzzled it, then slowly stepped into the crate. The handler latched the door. I turned away. I stood by the trees and watched them pack up. "You did the right thing," one of them said. I nodded, but I couldn't speak. Then the van drove off, disappearing into the curve of the dirt road. I stayed in that spot for a long time. The next few days were a blur. I drove home, cleaned the garage, got rid of the blankets, the towels, the crate. My neighbor, Sue, asked again what I'd been hiding in there. I told her it was a sick dog I was fostering. She smiled, didn't press. At night, I dreamed of pine trees, of silence, of small brown eyes blinking through fog. Then, for days later, I got a call. It was the woman from the center. "Just wanted to let you know. He's doing well, eating like a champ, settling in fast." I thanked her, hung up, then sat on the porch for a long time, staring into the dusk. I thought it would feel like closure. It didn't. It felt like something opened instead. I'd lived years shutting out the world. After Lily, I stopped showing up. For everything. Friends, family, myself. But something about that cub. He pulled me back into the moment, forced me to feel again, to care. Even when I didn't want to, especially then. Sometimes I drive past mile marker 12, the curve where it all started. There's still a scar on the guardrail where her body hit. I never forget it. And every time I think of him, I wonder, was I a savior? A thief? A friend? Or just a stranger who happened to stop? I'll never really know. But I hope, God, I hope, that when he looks back, somewhere deep in his animal brain, he remembers the warmth of a garage in spring, and the sound of a man whispering, "You're okay now. I got you," even if only for a little while.